Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I really wish that I could advise about something like this, but I can't. I get this question a lot, as you can imagine. But this is something, I don't know your situation. I can't advise. I can't give a general advice to Muslims living in the West that, oh, you should make hijrah. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. This is entirely up to your own evaluation of your circumstances. If you make hijrah, it's a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. You have muhajirun in the Muslim world, but you don't really have a lot of ansar. So you're going to have to make it on your own. I haven't lived in the West for over 20 years now. And it's not been easy, I'll be honest. It's been a struggle. You have to deal with visa issues. You have to deal with job issues, immigration, and so on. Language, it's not that easy. Obviously, it's not that easy to live in the West, as is evidenced by this comment. You have to make a decision about which struggle you're ready to deal with. I mean, the good thing about if you make hijrah, the struggle that you have to deal with is one that you're going to have to deal with. You can't avoid it. There's no way that you can just be passive about it and not be bothered by it. But in the West, you have the option of going along to get along, which can be devastating to your iman, can be devastating to your peace of mind if you just go along to get along. So the struggle that you have in the West is one that you have to actively engage in and realize that you're in a situation where you have the opportunity to demonstrate the conviction of your beliefs, meaning you're prepared to be ostracized for what you believe. You're prepared to be mocked and trolled and harassed and made fun of and scolded and called names because of what you believe. So that's a decision that you have to make. I mean, like I've said before, I don't know how Muslims in the West don't feel like survivors in a zombie apocalypse movie, where you're not sure when you see people on the street whether or not they're normal or whether or not they're zombies, whether or not they're infected. And you have to be careful about whether or not you're going to get infected if you interact with them. I'll be honest, when I interact with non-Muslims, especially from the West, mostly from the West, I go into it with the assumption that they don't think normally, that they have like an ideological virus in their minds that I'm going to have to deal with. So I don't deal with them the way I deal with normal people. I don't deal with them the way I deal with Muslims. I don't deal with them the same way that I would deal with even non-Muslims generally from the global South who don't have that ideological virus. So it's not really just a Muslim, non-Muslim thing, but it's a very Western thing, that the West has inflicted their populations with a cognitive dissonance and has so thoroughly undermined and sabotaged their ability to think properly and process information properly and interact with the world properly, that when you have to deal with a Westerner, you go into it knowing this is going to be a minefield. Everyone has to make the evaluation for themselves and be realistic about it. Don't have a rosy picture in your head about what it's going to be like to live in the Muslim world. Oh, there's adhan. Oh, there's masajid. Oh, everyone is properly covered. Oh, people all making salah and everything. No, these are normal places. Yeah, you'll hear the adhan, alhamdulillah. Yeah, there's masajid. Yeah, all of those things are true. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, because you will have a struggle if you come to the Muslim world, and you're having a struggle now in the West. So which one are you ready to cope with? You don't want it to be a situation where you drop everything, leave everything, and come to the Muslim world, and it gets too hard for you materially, financially, and then you give up and you go back, and then you've already lost everything in the West, and you go back anyway. That's a mess. So you need to make a proper, mature evaluation of your circumstances and make that decision. Again, there's the positive side of it, which is that the more Muslims are in the West, and the more Muslims and the longer Muslims stay there, the more influence Muslims will have in the West, and that's good for the West. That's good for their societies. If at least you have that anchor of sanity living amongst you, it can help you. And Islam, of course, is spreading in the West faster than it's spreading anywhere else. Spreading in America faster than it's spreading anywhere else. People are converting in the West faster than they are converting to Islam anywhere else. All of that bodes well for the future of the West in terms of being eventually rescued from this lunacy. But as I've talked about many times on this channel, it's one of the almost themes of this channel, that the West is in decline even materially, because the actual centers of power are in the private sector, and they are a-national. So even the living conditions in the West, as we see in Europe, are deteriorating rapidly before our eyes. If you're staying there because for material reasons, it may not end up being worth it. If you're staying there because you believe that there's freedom for you there, not really. The level of sort of authoritarian control over people's lives in the West is intensifying very quickly. And that's just going to get worse. So materially, it's not really a good argument. Freedom-wise, it's not really a good argument. The only argument that I can see is that the struggle that you'll have to face in the Muslim world might also be quite difficult, particularly materially, logistically, and so on. So I hope that was helpful in some way. Jazakumullahu khairan wa assalamu alaikum.